Going on, fight fans? Today I'm going to be giving you my predictions on UFC 273. Before I jump into the video, if you enjoy this content, please leave me a like, subscribe. Let's jump right into it. First fight of the night, we have Julio Arce against Daniel Santos, who's making his UFC debut. Daniel Santos seems to be primarily a boxer, pretty good in the pocket, some decent little kicks here and there. Didn't see too much footage on that guy. Considering the fact that Julio Arce is the guy who's been around for the much longer time in the UFC, he's becoming a little bit of a UFC veteran nowadays. Quite a bit of experience. He's pretty inconsistent, but just considering the fact that he's been around for much longer and he still has some decent skills and has fought the much better competition, I'm gonna side with Julio Arce in this one. I'm gonna go decision. Next up, we have Piera Rodriguez against Kay Hansen. I think Piera Rodriguez is, she's undefeated, 7-0, still a green prospect. Kay Hansen on a 2-fight skid. I saw she's very, very young. She looks for quite a bit of takedowns. Her striking is still evolving, but not so great. I saw her fight in person at UFC 270 in Anaheim and had a little parlay with her, and she was the parlay buster for me. According to what I've seen, as far as her striking and then just her fight IQ in general, I'm going to lean with Piera Rodriguez here, probably by decision. The better bet for this fight is probably fight to go to decision. So decision, Piera Rodriguez. Next up, we have Anthony Hernandez against Josh Fremd, who's also making his UFC debut, I believe. 9-2, he's the slight underdog. He's got some pretty solid calf kicks, pretty decent striking. I think he's coming from LFA. And then Anthony Hernandez hasn't fought in a while. I think his last fight, he picked up a submission against Rodolfo Vieira, which was actually a pretty substantial upset. Money-wise, I think he was like plus 350 or plus 400. I think Anthony Hernandez is just a bit more violent than Josh Fremd, and I think he'll pick up the KO TKO in this one. I'm gonna say KO TKO round one or round two. I'm gonna go round one in this one. Next up, we have Alexey Oleinik against Jared Vanderaa. This is a pass all around for me. This is both of these guys are just. I have respect for Oleinik. He's been around for a long time. He's I wouldn't say a legend, but he carries quite a name for himself. But he's on a 3-fight losing streak. Jared Vanderaa, 2-fight losing streak. He lost to Arlovsky, I believe, in his UFC debut. He didn't look so great, even though he showed up on short notice. 2-fight losing streak against 3-fight losing streak. This is an all-around pass. Jared Vanderaa, considering his age and at the stage of his career he's at, he should be picking up this victory, I believe. But Alexey Oleinik always seems to find a way to drag people into the kind of fight that he wants to fight, which is on the ground, looking for those Ezekiel chokes, solid choke, although I don't know how he's landing those no-gi, but this one should be Vanderaa, but I could see him getting caught in one of those silly chokes if he's not careful. So I'm going to side with Vanderaa, but this one is not confident at all. I'm going to go decision. Next up, we have Vinc Pichel against Mark Madsen. So for me in this one, I saw Mark Madsen fight last time in Europe. I have some doubts as far as cardio. I want to see how he's able to handle the pressure against a guy who's going to be in his face for most of the fight. Vinc Pichel is he's a UFC vet. He's a gritty fighter. I mean, he's a fighter at heart. Like, he will be in your face and he'll throw some bombs, some leather. They're both quite old. I guess that's something to kind of keep in mind. I think Mark Madsen will be able to land some takedowns early on, maybe in round one, maybe control him a little bit. I want to see how his cardio is holding up, as I was mentioning. I think Vinc Pichel is going to be able to, he'll be taken down maybe a few times in the early rounds, but he'll be able to weather the storm. I don't think Madsen will catch a submission or anything like that either. I think Pichel will work his way back to his feet and then start putting on the pressure, maybe work some body shots against the fence. I think it's going to be a dirty, dirty fight. I'm going to go late third round TKO and Vinc Pichel in this one, but I like the money line on Vinc Pichel to add to a parlay in this one. I trust him. Minus 150. I think he's solid. He's got that killer instinct that I love to bet on. Anyways, next up we have Mickey Gall against Mike Malott. So this one I would say is primarily a grappler versus grappler situation. Mickey Gall is actually an underdog. This is not going to be a fight where I have a lot of confidence going into either. Just considering the fact that Mickey Gall's been around in the UFC for a little bit longer, he probably has better experience as far as the type of competition he's been facing in his career. But I don't know too much about Mike Malott's grappling. I know Mickey Gall tends to fade so in the later rounds, so maybe that's why the line is leaning towards Mike Malott. This one is a coin flip for me. I'm gonna go Mickey Gall by decision, just considering the fact that he's been in the UFC longer and has fought some decent competition, I would say. But this is definitely not confident, and for me, this is going to be a huge pass. Next up, we have Aspen Ladd against Raquel Pennington, an OG. She's been around for quite some time now. And she never seems to really go away. She's a gritty fighter. She's got some solid boxing. Aspen Ladd was a pretty decent prospect as of late. She's been on a little bit of a inconsistent run. Her footwork leaves to be desired for. I think she has better grappling than Pennington, but I think Pennington can stuff the takedowns. I think Pennington has much better striking and hits very, very hard. I think this is bad for Aspen Ladd all around. Even though she's younger, probably training hard. I'm going to lean with Raquel Pennington decision. Next up, we have Jairzinho Rozenstruik against Marcin Tybura. This is a little bit of a coin flip of a fight. It's pretty much a pick 'em. I'm going to be leaning towards Jairzinho in this one, just considering the power that he carries. I hope he's been working on his takedown defense, because when he fought Curtis Blades, he got absolutely demolished, which, it's no easy task to face a guy like that who's got great grappling and great wrestling. I don't think Tybura is anywhere near the kind of wrestler that Blades is. I think, he can get some decent takedowns against the fence, and then kind of do some work against the fence, try to tire Rozenstruik a little bit. If Rozenstruik is smart, he'll keep the control of the center cage and then just work his magic with his striking. I think he's a much better striker. And he's fought some pretty stiff competition too. He's fought Cyril Gane, he's fought Ngannou, Curtis Blades, Overeem. I mean, he's fought a who's who of guys. So I think in this one, he should be able to take it. I think it's a pretty decent odds on him as well. I'm gonna say KO round 1 in this one. Next up, we got a very, very interesting matchup. Ian Garry against Darian Weeks. So Darian Weeks lost his fight. I think that was his first fight in the UFC. He fought a tough guy, Brian Barberina, a UFC veteran who's been around for a while and who's very, very solid chin, doesn't mind exchanging in the pocket, kicks, elbows. So that's a stiff competition in your first fight in the UFC. So no easy task for him. On the counterpart, we have Ian Garry, who's been, guy's an undefeated prospect from Ireland. He's riding the hype, trying to bite a little bit of the hype out of McGregor by using, his Irish roots. I think Ian Garry's been training pretty hard. I think he's training with Michael Chandler and these guys. So he's fighting out of a decent gym. He's young. He's fighting all the time. He got clipped a few times in his first fight in his UFC debut, so that's something to look at. He seemed to have a decent chin, and was able to take him well, but that's not something you want to rely on too much with 4-ounce gloves. I think he's got solid movement, solid striking. If he can work his in and out 1-2s, and then just constantly be in and out of his combinations, he should be able to pick up the KO TKO. I'm gonna go with this one, KO TKO round 1, and I'm really hoping he does because I got a few NFTs on him, so hopefully his stock can go up. Knock on wood. Next up, that's also a very, very interesting fight. We got Mackenzie Dern against Tecia Torres. So Tecia Torres, the much more experienced fighter in the UFC. Very, very good movement. Very annoying little darts. She jumps in 1-2, kick to the body, kick to the leg. She mixes it up well. She's definitely not going to be looking to wrestle Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern, her striking has been evolving quite a bit. It's looking much, much better, although it's still a little stiff at times. But her entries and her shot placement and her shot choices, her combination choices seem to be much more mature. You can tell she's advancing and growing as a fighter. This is a tough one, just because Tecia Torres is a point fighter and she probably has the better striking. I think if Mackenzie Dern can somehow find a way to take her down or drag her down, it's going to be a bad night for Tecia. So, having that edge grappling wise is always a nice asset to have in your back pocket. So I'm going to be leaning with Mackenzie Dern decision in this one. I want to see her pick up a win. I think she plus 105 at dog money too. That's a decent play. Next up, that's probably the people's fight. That's probably the fight people are looking forward to the most. I'm very, very intrigued by this matchup, actually. There's a lot of hype riding on Khamzat Chimaev, understandably so. I think the guy's a stud. He seems to have amazing cardio, solid striking from what we can see, because we don't see too much of him. He mostly finishes his fights in the first or second round. I don't know if I think he has a 100% finishing rate, if I'm not mistaken. Guys undefeated, 10-0. Just the odds are, man, it's hard to not want to take a little hit at Gilbert Burns, although I do want Khamzat to win. I also own some of his NFTs, so I'm hoping he wins so the value can go up. I just feel like Khamzat is the much better wrestler. Gilbert Burns is the much better grappler, I would say. I don't know, like he's got huge experience, like ADCC contestant, world champion, gi and no gi, I believe. He's just outstanding, an outstanding black belt. And it's just interesting. Like you wouldn't want Khamzat to get into a grappling exchange and get caught with maybe a guillotine or, like a non-bar or something, because Gilbert is also very dangerous off of his back. And, he's not going to rest. Like I've seen some of his training footage. The guy is coming in to scrap and he's been training really, really hard. And to see odds like that for a guy that is that good is, it's crazy, man. I think Burns might have the advantage striking. Khamzat has the better wrestling, but Burns also has the better grappling. So it's a really hard fight for me to predict, actually. I think Khamzat wins, but I can't picture how. Although I did see how much power he carries. So, if he cracks in with a big right, we saw Burns get knocked out almost from a jab from the champion. So I'm going to lean with Khamzat on this one, but I'm definitely not touching it at minus 600. I'm going to go Khamzat. If he's able to land a power shot, man, this is a really hard fight to predict. I'm going to go Khamzat KO TKO round 2. Not much confidence. Next, very interesting fight. Aljamain Sterling against Petr Yan. I actually have a funny little story about this one. I think I had a 5 or 6 fight parlay, and during that fight card when they were both fighting, and I just needed Aljamain Sterling for the win, and he was getting demolished. He was getting tired because he was throwing, too many punches, like not conserving his energy well, considering it was a 5-round fight. And Petr Yan was just foot sweeping him, kicking him, just absolutely destroying him wherever the fight was going in the later rounds. And, that knee happened, and, Aljamain Sterling won by disqualification, and I was able to win my parlay, which was like an $800 profit. So for this specific reason, I can't hate on the guy. I think, Petr Yan is the much better striker. He's got amazing takedown defense. Aljamain Sterling, his striking is coming together. He's very unorthodox. He's got some very interesting shots, some spinning attacks. He's got to learn to conserve and manage his energy much better going into this fight. I'm sure he's been working very, very hard after that neck surgery. He's been out for almost 2 years, so I'm sure we're gonna see a brand new fighter. If he's been working on his grappling a lot, he could surprise a lot of people. I would say that Petr Yan definitely has the edge and should win this fight, but I think a lot of people are actually sleeping on Aljamain and kind of forgetting how good of a fighter he really is because of that loss. The guy is legit. I mean, he's 20-3. He's a great fighter. I'm gonna say Petr Yan by decision, but I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I would not be surprised in the least bit, if Sterling somehow finds a way to win. Next, we have Alexander Volkanovski against the Korean Zombie. The Max Holloway fight fell through, which I'm a little bit bummed about because I thought he had slightly edged Volkanovski in the second fight. But Volkanovski is just an absolute monster at this stage of his career. The guy is, he's at this stage of his career where he's starting to lap all of the contenders and the challengers. He's beating them once, twice, and I mean, looking at what he did to Ortega, just like, man. The guy, although he almost got caught, the guy's a savage. I don't see the Korean Zombie picking up a submission. I don't see the Korean Zombie being able to take the fight to the ground. I think in the first couple of rounds, the Korean Zombie could have better, crisp, clean boxing. But I think that Alexander Volkanovski is the kind of guy who's always constantly working. The guy's a workhorse. He has insane cardio. He's always in your face. It must be exhausting to fight a guy like that. He's got big power. I mean, he's stocky for the division. He's got those nasty leg kicks that take a toll on you. We've seen it through the rounds with Max Holloway. So I think if Volkanovski works the legs, works the body, is being methodical, but constantly works, he might have a little bit of a hard time in the first and second round, but then he should be completely cruising after that. And I do think he picks up the finish. It could be a great fight if the Korean Zombie, he's been training with a triple C or C4, as they say. So he could surprise us. But I do think Volkanovski picks up the win. It's really hard to finish the Korean Zombie, so I'm actually going to go decision on this one. And then that's it for me today, fellas. Remember, if you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like and then subscribe below. If you guys have some crazy bets or just like whatever bets you have on your mind, you want to share them, put them in the comment section down below. And yeah, all the best of luck for those of you that are betting, and peace.